How's it going, YouTube? Today I have a mute switch on an iPhone 11. I'm going to walk you through everything you need, all the tools. If there's anything I leave out, you're more than welcome to leave a comment, reach out that way. Some of the tools that we're going to need in no particular order are first and foremost, something to keep track of are screws. So we need a magnetic mat, a pentalobe to get into the bottom, a Phillips, a tri-wing Y000, specifically Y000. iFixit has a great tool set if you don't want to buy all these individually. We're going to need a standoff bit. We're also going to need tweezers, a nylon spudger, possibly curved tweezers. We're definitely going to need an opening tool. If you have an ice glack, one of these are awesome. Especially in scenarios where the front and the back aren't damaged. It's pretty straightforward to use this to open it rather than one of these. We're going to need a heat source. So a heat gun. One of these guys is what I use, but you can use a hair dryer. You'll just have to use more, have it on there for longer. And I get my part. I'll leave a link for this down below. Mobile Centrics. I think this cost me, apparently I've bought them at more than one time, because this one cost me $5, this one cost me $4, but whatever, $5. I'll show you, because this is the way they come. If you have the option of, sometimes these flexes will come without this bracket. If you see that, run for the hills. Do not buy it. They are the biggest piece of crap. I mean, it's basically impossible to transfer and what are you gonna save? Like $2 or $3? Just don't do it. Just buy the one that comes with a bracket. I'll show you how to transfer over your actual volume, or not the volume, the mute switch. So yeah, with that said, let's get started. Apologize in advance. Some of these tend to be a little bit long-winded, only because I want to give you. I try to be as detailed as possible, but sometimes that can translate to a longer video, longer runtime. But we have our opening tool. Now I've already opened up this phone, and then I decided to make a video. So I don't need to use that much heat, but essentially imagine that I just used a bunch of heat. Then we come in with our opening tool. We don't need to be in. This doesn't need to be inside the phone very far. I mean, as you can see right there, it's no more than about that much. Now, one of the technique that I like is to twist. So rather than using a cutting motion, it's a little bit safer, achieves basically the same result. First things first, before we go disconnecting our flexes, you always want to make sure that your battery, that your board is disconnected from power. Just because the device is turned off doesn't mean that there's not electricity running through the board. Ideally, you want to use a nylon spudger just because it is ESD safe. Once we're here, it's a matter of taking out, we need to remove the camera. Once again, nylon spudger. You don't need to use that much force, should come right out. If it doesn't, take your spudger, wedge approximately right there. Next, we need to remove our front camera. We're also going to have to pull the battery out of this. It looks like this has been replaced, so I don't have the original tabs. So I'm going to sort of skip over that, but this is one of the things I forgot, so I'll mention it now. Use 91 or 99% rubbing alcohol, just a couple of drops, and it'll allow you to pull the battery tabs out. It lowers the chance of it tearing. I mean, essentially what I do is I'll, almost like spaghetti, I'll grab it and then roll, and then I'll sort of tug back and forth in a zigzag pattern. Those are just some of the things that help me avoid from tearing. If anyone has ever had torn battery strips, it's not fun. And then for down below, I will pull out just the Taptic engine, and that gives me access to the bottom two. And that's that. Don't use 70%, use 91 or 99%. Next, because it's essentially this piece right here is what we're working with, which is glued onto like this antenna looking thing right here. And it's just glued on. You can see some adhesive right there. First, we come in here. We can sort of fold this up and out of the way. I'd suggest just like that. So it's just adhesive, so you don't have to remove this or this. So next we have a couple of screws. And here we go. Now the trickiest part here, and it's really not that tricky, is it's almost easier to see here, and I'll try and zoom in, but these little hoops, whatever you want to call them, right here and right here, I mean, they're basically springs, and you want to go here and just bend one of them out, just like that. Once we're there, this will literally just pop right out. Sort of just twist at a 90-degree angle, and it should just come right out. You shouldn't really need to do anything to the new springs. And I'll do this with tweezers, just so you can see, but you want that orange, red, whatever line to be on the top or facing towards you, and it should snap right in, and that's it. Okay, so mine was bending, or it wasn't sitting right. Basically what I did is I just bent both of them out, and then I pushed them back down. Then I dropped this back on, aligned it up, and then just pushed down on these springs just to keep them in place. And then once you're here, it won't come out. So if yours is loose, or if it's sitting, honestly this happens sometimes where it's sort of sitting at an angle, essentially you just need to bend both of these back, pull this out, bend them back in, and then you can sort of and essentially you just need to snap it in place, because it just needs to go around and down. Wham bam, done. Next, getting ahead of myself. Remove the adhesive. I guess it's not adhesive. These strips, if there are any. I'll leave this one here for the time being, just because I want to get this. I want to get it installed first. So there we go. That's in place. fold this over just slightly. You want to get at least one screw. Doesn't even have to be all the way, just to sort of keep it in place. Like that is not even positioned in there correctly, but I just want to keep it from falling out. So I'm gonna start on this side. I haven't tightened any of these all the way. And I messed up. Okay. This long piece needs to go on the inside. So just like that. This volume switch goes on the outside, this goes on the inside. Okay, so once we're there, we can then remove this, slap that on. So until it aligns, I'll spin, there we go. This is test, make sure it clicks right. It does. Now we can proceed with reinstalling our battery and pretty much everything else. Okay, so after a little bit more of a backstory, the back was replaced, and apparently the phone was just really jacked up. And after a little bit of testing, I'll try to splice just this in, just so you can order one of these. They're not very expensive, but it is the what is it? This is what I got from Mobile Centrics. Bluetooth Wi-Fi Flex. It's not that much. So if you're watching this ahead of time and then ordering the parts and then going to watch this again, it's not a bad idea just to have one of these, because apparently this was the issue. And obviously, for anyone that is in the midst of this repair, like me for instance, it was annoying enough for me to have to go and just test this. But for you, presumably this is your daily, this is your phone. To just have your phone sitting in pieces for a couple of days is kind of a pain. So I'll stop rambling. But so now we're just going to install this. Usually they come with they'll come with new adhesives. And a lot of these, specifically this, you have to sort of fold these over. I'll often use if you have, and it's not just torn to shreds, we'll notice that this little piece goes on the bottom, this folds over 180 degrees, so this essentially folds 90, this folds from here to 180 degrees, so that's what we're going to do. Because usually when they come in the mail, they come flat. You gotta, align it just right. So at least on this, what I like to do is you have not that many screws. I think it's like 5. But number 1, this has to get under this right here. Number 2, you can sort of fold this back. Wham, bam. Then we go here. So you want this to align. Once that's there, we can install at least one. which is nice because you've at least got down the left-right alignment. There should have been I hope, at least it was on mine, adhesive. So it'll sort of keep this in place. And we can fold that over. Doesn't matter which one you get in order. I won't tighten that one until I get this second one. Alright, there's that. Then I can go in. Then I can snap that. Alright, so the tough part is out of the way. We can now snap those in. Take this. I had to bend that pin, that little hook in a little bit, just so I could do this without removing the board, which doesn't hurt the board because the piece of metal that you're bending is just whatever, tiny piece of metal. Who cares? Just use flat side of your spudger. Like, yoink. Alright, next from here, you want to make sure, because if you'll see right here, there's a little, basically it's supposed to slot in right between here, this piece. And if you don't, well, then your front camera, or this is your infrared, I believe, will sit just too high, and then when you go to connect your screen, you will basically mess it up. Make sure that this piece of metal is sitting on top. Connect those. Once again, do all of this. I mean, if you want to take your battery out, whatever. But you do not want your phone connected to power. And we come back in here. There we go. So almost forgot. I'm gonna put in a new gasket. I'll be back. If you're installing a gasket, it doesn't hurt to order more than one, as they have a tendency to get messed up during the first install. So if you can, try to get them in 3 layers. The first layer I took off. The second layer is this right here. You'll see what the third layer is in just a sec. Now, I will mention this because I will probably get a comment about it. At some point in time, your phone is not water resistant. Don't pretend that it is. Taking it to Apple or any other repair shop if somebody says they are. Number one, there are far too many ways for liquid to get inside of your phone other than just this gasket. I mean, every single button, all of these holes, your charging port, your flash. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. This is here for essentially 2 reasons. The first is so that it will dampen every single time you click on the screen. It will just make it so that your screen doesn't tap up against your frame. It's really annoying. And there we go. This is the second, and you'll see that there's still a third layer. This one is nice because it allows you to, it's not necessary, but it allows us to connect. Once again, make sure our battery is not connected. But the third layer we take off, and we're able to, at the last minute, but we're able to essentially connect our flexes and test the phone. And once we test it, and once we get the okay, then we can remove the final seal. So honestly, you don't really need me for putting plates back in, but the one thing I will mention is, like I said, you want to make sure that Your infrared camera is sitting in between this little majigger right there. You also want to make sure that you didn't get any screws. They have a bad habit, loose screws have a bad habit of getting stuck on the Taptic engine and the loudspeaker.